In this video, I will be demonstrating exercise 5.1, managing the Windows routing table, and exercise 5.2, installing the routing and remote access role. In exercise 5.1, we're going to be managing the Windows routing tables. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be configuring static IP addresses on both of our network interface cards. So this will be right-click on the interface. We go to Properties, and then IPv4 Properties. We're just going to give this IP address 10.1, and we won't be needing a DNS server, so we're going to clear that out and click OK and OK. We're going to local area connection to Properties. We don't need IP6, so we're going to uncheck that. And same procedure, except for this IP address, we're going to be using 192.168.11.1, and then the 24-bit mask. We don't need a DNS server, so we're going to ignore that. Click Close. After we configure our network interface cards, the next step is to configure a Windows firewall exception to allow ping activity. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an inbound rule, which is going to allow ICMP version 4 activity, which is just ping messages. So it will be a custom rule. We're going to go Next, and go All Programs, then Next, and then where it says Protocol Type, we're going to select ICMP version 4, which again is just ping messages. We're going to go any IP address for both radio buttons. We go Next, and we're going to go Allow the connection because we want to be able to ping. We're going to accept the default values there. And we're just going to name this Allow Lab Ping. Then we're going to click Finish, and as you can see, there's a green check mark next to the rule that we just created. That's just telling us that it's in action and it's working. So that we've changed servers, we're going to do the exact same thing to our two network interface cards, except we're going to be using some different IP addresses. So we're going to remove this DNS server as well as the default gateway. We're not going to be needing that. This IP address is going to be 192.168.11.2. Click OK and OK. And then for the IP address of our second network interface card, we're going to be using 192.168.12.2. We're going to click OK and close to save our changes. We're going to close out of this. Now we're going to configure another firewall exception to allow ping activity on this computer. Again, same procedure. In fact, the same rule applies as well. Just going to make a custom rule. We go Next, All Programs. Next, and we're going to go Protocol Type as ICMP version 4. Any IP address, allow the connection. We're going to accept the default values, and we're going to name this one Allow Lab Ping as well. And again, as soon as we click Finish, we'll be able to see the green check mark next to the new rule we just created. That's just another indication saying that the rule is active. So now that we've moved back over to server 01, we're going to command prompt, we're going to ping our first address here. As you can see, we get a successful ping. That's because we have the proper routes established. We're going to ping our second address, and again, we have a successful ping. And our third address, successful ping. When it comes to our fourth address, we're not going to get a successful ping because we don't have the proper IP routes to get to our destination. Now we're going to run similar ping tests, except we're going to be on server 02. So for our first test, we're going to ping .11.2. As you can see, we get a reply. We're going to ping 12.2, and we get a reply here. And we're ping 11.1, and we're going to reply here. Last but not least, we're going to ping 10.1. As you can see, the transmit failed because we do not have the proper IP routes in place. The whole reason that the ones before pass is because there are the appropriate routes in place that we need to be able to communicate between each of the network interface cards. In exercise 5.2, we are going to be installing and configuring the routing and remote access rule. The first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be installing the routing and remote access server rule. So we go to our server manager and add role. We're going to be adding a network policy and access services. We want to check routing. That's what we're going to be using right now. As you can see, the routing rule service requires a couple dependencies. We're going to go and click Add Required Rules. We're going to click Next and Install. And now we're going to work our way over to the MMC, where we're going to the routing or remote access MMC, where we're going to configure and enable routing and remote access. So we're going to go through the wizard and click Next. We're going to make sure we choose Custom Configuration. We're going to check LAN routing. Click Next. We're going to click Finish, and we're going to give a little time to start the service for us. Now if you look next to our server name right here, you can see a green arrow. That means we're all set on this server. For the sake of time, I've already completed up to this point on our second server. So now we're going to go back to the routing remote access MMC. And now we're going to navigate to the IPv4 node. And we're going to double click static routes, and we're going to enter a new static route. And right now, the interface that we're going to be using is the local area connection 2, meaning any packets that are destined for the 192.168.12.0 network will be going out the local area connection 2 interface to reach its destination. And that's what we're going to be putting in our destination address, and then our standard network mask. And then in our gateway field, we're going to be putting 192.168.11.1. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to add it for us. Now we're going to move on over to server 2 and do the same exact thing with the exception of different IP addresses. I'm going to go over to the IPv4 node, and right click on static routes and click New Static Route. This time, our exit interface is going to be local area connection for all packets destined in the 192.168.10.0 network, again with our standard net mask. And our gateway of 192.168.11.2, and click OK. It's going to add our route, as you can see there. We're going to work our way back over to server 1. We're going to perform a couple things. Now before, this ping failed. But now since we have our proper routes in place, this ping is going to succeed, as you can see there. And if we go over server 2, again, before this ping failed, as you can see here, now that we have our proper routes in place, this ping is going to succeed. This is the end of my video for Lab 5 in INTC 2030.